All right, gear up, everyone. We're diving deep into how D&D evolved, from the classic AD&D, think first and second edition, to the phenomenon that is 5e.
It really is kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's like going from, I don't know, like an old school Amazing Fantasy 15, the first Spider-Man, and then bam, you're watching like the latest Spider-Man movie.
Totally. It's like a total reboot. And it really shows how gaming, like culture changed, right?
For sure.
Like AD&D, it was all about the rules, man. Like it was all about like really simulating everything.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know if you've ever played it, but it's like that game, like Dwarf Fortress.
Oh, yeah.
Super meticulous, really challenging, but also super rewarding, especially if you're like a details person.
Okay, so imagine you're playing D&D, right? But you're also an accountant, like a super serious accountant.
Okay.
And you're tracking every single gold piece, every ration, every arrow,
Yeah, every little thing.
Like you're writing like a Silmarillion level backstory for your character.
Oh, absolutely.
But like for everything.
Yeah. And that brings us to, we got to talk about TH0.
Oh, TH.
CA0, the terror of new players.
Yeah.
So to hit armor class 0, it's an acronym. And basically, imagine every time you swing a sword, you got to do a little math problem.
Oh, no.
You got to like figure out your attack bonus. You got to look at the target's armor class.
And then,
You might even need a table, like a whole table.
It's like playing D&D and doing your taxes at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get it. Like if you're a super hardcore, like you love Pathfinder.
Yeah.
You like that number crunching. Like solving the Enigma code. Like that's your thing. AD&D's for you.
Yeah.
But for us mere mortals.
Yeah, it could be a little much. And yeah, don't forget, like back then it was all percentile skills, right?
Yeah.
So like everything from picking a lock to, trying to sweet talk a dragon. You're rolling a D100.
Ooh.
And you just like pray.
Praying to the dice gods.
To the dice gods that, you roll well.
It's like those random encounters.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the old school Final Fantasy games.
Right.
Like you're just walking along, bam, a battle starts. You're like, what just happened?
Exactly. Like anything could happen. It's like the Wild West of RPGs.
Yep.
And it had its own charm,
For sure.
Like that unpredictable feeling.
Yeah. Okay, but let's zoom forward a bit. Okay. To the shiny new world of 5e.
All right, 5e.
It's like trading in, I don't know, like an old Nokia phone for like the latest,
the latest smartphone. Yeah.
All the bells and whistles.
Yeah. And, it's really cool to see how, like, game design changed, right?
Yeah.
AD&D to 5e.
Totally.
Like, 5e, it's all about, like, accessibility. It's about the story, It's like a smoother experience. It's like, I don't know, you ever watch, like, The Seventh Seal?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a classic film, right? But really slow. And then, boom, you jump to, like, Mad Max, Fury Road.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, what a difference.
Totally.
Fast-paced, action-packed.
And speaking of action, right, the combat, it's like, I don't know, like a John Wick movie.
Yeah.
So fast, so fluid, so many choices.
Yeah.
And no quadratic equations to figure out if you hit an orc. Thank goodness.
No more THAC calculations.
You just roll the dice, you add your modifiers, and you describe what your epic move is like.
Yeah.
Like you're writing your own comic book.
It's very cinematic and even character creation, right? Like it's changed so much.
Oh yeah.
In 5e, it's like building your ultimate hero in, like one of those online games like what is it? Like Champions Online.
Yeah.
You got your races, you got your classes, you got your backgrounds. It's like it's a buffet of options.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so different from like AD&D where it was like, picking your character off a limited menu, like in Golden Axe.
Oh, yeah.
Like you knew what you were getting, but, not a lot of options.
Okay. So 5e, like the Skyrim of tabletop RPGs.
Kind of, yeah. Endless customization, like go wild, forge your own path.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it makes sense. Like our generation, we grew up with video games,
right.
Intricate character builds, branching storylines,
Yeah. And even magic changed, right?
Oh, how so?
So like Vancian magic and AD&D, it was all about memorizing your spells. It was super strict. Like it was like planning a heist in Ocean's 11. Every spell, like a precious resource. You got to choose carefully.
Okay, yeah.
But 5e, spell slots. It's more like, you got a toolkit.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you're playing like Dishonored or something.
Oh, yeah.
You got all these different tools. You use them creatively depending on what pops up.
Way better than the street magician analogy I was thinking of.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so 5e is all about like agency for the players, being flexible,
Yeah.
telling your own story, like those Telltale games.
Right, exactly. Like you make choices, and it affects the story.
Totally.
And it's not just about making the game like easier, right? It's about,
Yep.
it's about letting players be creative, be spontaneous, like really connect to the story they're telling.
Yeah.
It's like playing chess. Every move, you got to think it through. It's deliberate. But then you got like cosmic encounter.
Yeah.
Alliances are changing. You got different powers. It's chaos.
Yeah.
It's a very different feel.
Okay, so we got these two like very different beasts here. We got AD&D, the simulator,
Right.
and then 5e, the storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know, like comparing Dune, right? Although that world building to Star Wars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Super fast paced.
Right.
They're both great, but
Different strokes for different folks.
exactly.
And we'll get more into this, but all those differences, they affect like everything, how the game feels, what the dungeon master does, even like what kind of stories you end up telling. It's like, I don't know, like you play like XCOM.
Oh, yeah.
Super strategic, and then you play something like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Super story driven. They both have their strengths.
Okay, so we've set the stage here, right? AD&D and 5e. Their philosophies, their mechanics. It's like we've skimmed the character creation chapter
Yeah.
in the player's handbook, right?
Right.
But now it's time to roll for initiative.
Yeah.
Dive into the dungeon. How do these editions actually feel to play?
Let's find out. We're going to need our D20s. Get ready to explore like the dungeons of nostalgia
Okay.
and the wide open landscapes of modern gaming.
All right, buckle up, everybody. This deep dive is about to get epic.
Welcome back. Last time we sort of set things up, AD&D versus 5e. Intricate versus streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
It's like comparing storytelling, like the Odyssey by Homer
Yeah.
to like a Mission Impossible movie.
Total shift. We talked about like TH0, the percentile skills,
Yeah.
Vanchian Maya, all that good stuff.
Like raiding a treasure chest of old school gaming.
Totally. But let's roll initiative here.
Okay.
Let's get into it, right? How did all those differences, how did they make the game feel different to play?
Okay, so one of the biggest things is the tone, like the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like AD&D, it was gritty. It was realistic. It was all about survival.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if you've ever seen like The Witch.
Yeah.
Or like Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
That kind of dark fantasy vibe.
Totally.
Like there was danger everywhere.
Yeah.
You could actually die,
Oh, yeah.
Like even a simple dungeon, you go in there and you're like fighting for your life, like Dark Souls, but on a tabletop.
Yeah. I remember those games like huddled around the table.
Yeah.
Dice are rolling. You don't even know if you're going to make it out.
It's intense.
Like The Thing almost.
Right.
Where everyone is suspicious of each other.
Exactly.
It adds a whole other layer, right?
Oh yeah. And that feeling, like it went beyond the characters. Like even the world itself, like those classic settings like Greyhawk, Dragonlance.
Yeah.
They felt like this untamed wilderness, full of like old ruins, hidden dangers, like you could feel the history, it was heavy.
Yeah.
Like if you were exploring the world of like The Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
Every village had its own like dark secrets.
Yeah.
Every monster had its own like Seri legend.
Whereas 5e, I mean, it could be dark, right?
Yeah.
But it feels more adventurous, more heroic.
Yeah.
Like an Indiana Jones film,
Yeah.
Or like Black Sails, like pirates and stuff. You just get the feeling that the heroes, like, yeah, they'll face challenges, but
Yeah.
they're going to be okay,
Right. Like those old cartoons,
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
the good guys always win in the end.
Exactly. Even when they're fighting a giant robot or something.
Yeah. I think that change in tone, it comes from the mechanics.
No, okay.
And from focusing on the story.
Yeah.
Like in 5e, things they flow better. You can really focus on like what your character is doing, what choices they're making.
Yeah.
It's like how comic books do it, right?
Yeah.
They use all these like dynamic panels and action lines
Yeah.
to show you like the energy of the fight.
Yeah.
It's not about like tracking every little detail. It's about like making those cool moments, telling an awesome story, like those big battles in like Avengers Endgame, right?
Yeah.
Where everyone gets their chance to shine.
So it's like reading a historical novel, which can be cool,
Yeah.
versus watching an anime movie.
Right.
Both good, but
Different vibes.
totally different vibes.
And that tone thing, it affects the dungeon master too.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Okay, so in AD&D, the DM, they were often like this opposing force, you know? Like,
Okay.
like a god, almost who could throw anything at you? Like a D master in one of those Saw movies,
Yeah.
you know, creating all these crazy traps and like deadly challenges.
Oh, I remember those DMs. Like, they loved making these, like, killer dungeons.
yeah, yeah.
And throwing, like, curveball encounters.
Like they were always one step ahead, you know?
Yeah.
Like a chess grandmaster.
Totally.
Now, I'm not saying that every AD&D DM was like a tyrant, right?
Yeah.
But the rules, the setting, it kind of encouraged that, you know,
Okay.
that adversarial style.
Yeah.
So you were always like fighting against the odds, like in those survival horror games,
Oh, yeah.
like Resident Evil, Silent Hill,
Yeah.
where you're just trying to survive. You know, you're running out of ammo. Everything's trying to kill you.
Yeah. Okay. But in 5e, I feel like the DM, they're more like a guide, right?
Yeah, more like a facilitator.
Like leading the players through the story, helping them like build this shared narrative, like a director working with actors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's more collaborative, you know,
Right.
like a bunch of friends like writing a story together.
Yeah.
You know, everyone throws in their ideas, you know,
Oh, that's cool.
and it just sort of it evolves as you go.
So it's less like fighting a dungeon master
Right.
and more like working with a world builder.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know, like playing Magic's The Gathering, right, against like a super competitive person.
Oh, yeah.
Versus playing like one of those cooperative board games like Pandemic,
Yeah.
where you're all working together to, you know, to save the world.
Totally.
And I think that change with the DM, you know, it's not just about D&D. It's like gaming culture is changing.
Okay.
It's becoming more inclusive, more
Yep.
collaborative. Like everyone at the table gets to contribute, you know.
Yeah.
It's like how video games are doing that now.
Oh, yeah.
More co-op modes, you know, multiplayer, like recognizing that games can bring people together.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we talked about tone, we talked about the DM. Let's get into like the actual like gameplay, you know?
Yeah.
How is it different to actually play these editions?
Yeah.
Okay, so picture this. You're playing AD&D
Okay.
and you're like meticulously planning out your next move.
Okay.
You got your character sheet, you got your rule books, you might even need a calculator, you know, to make sure you're like squeezing every ounce of power out of your actions.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, like a game of Civilization.
Oh, yeah.
You got to manage your resources. You got to plan your cities. You got to like think steps ahead of your opponent.
So it's a game for like people who love that like detailed strategy.
Yeah.
Like people who love to mind max, you know.
Yeah.
And those MMOs like World of Warcraft,
Yeah.
EVE Online.
Yeah. They spend hours like looking at spreadsheets and wikis, you know,
Oh, yeah.
trying to figure out like the perfect build.
Totally.
And it's rewarding, you know, that planning. But it can also mean that like the games are slower.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of time between like the big moments, you know, like
Right.
those old school JRPGs where you like grind for hours to level up,
Yeah.
get your gear just right
Full
before
on.
you fight the big boss.
Yeah.
But then you got 5e, right?
Yeah.
5e is all about keeping things moving, making it dynamic. You know, it's like jumping into, I don't know, like Devil May Cry
Yeah.
or Bayonetta,
Yeah.
where you're like always moving, reacting to stuff, doing these crazy combos.
Yeah.
And it's streamlined, you know? So you can like tell a story that's more spontaneous, like stuff happen, the players react, they make choices on the fly. It's like like in Firefly, right? They
Yeah.
got to improvise all the time, right? Use their skills and smarts to survive.
So it's like you're not plotting a course,
Right.
you know, on a map. You're just setting sail. You're like, okay, let's see what happens.
Exactly. Like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
All that world building
Mhm.
versus like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Super improvisational, you know, just going with the flow.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And speaking of improv, right? I feel like role playing, it's different between the two.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Like in AD&D, you had to really, like, get into your character, right? Think like them, act like them, like I don't know, like method actors.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait,
It's like you really inhabit that persona.
it's like those Bioware games, like
Yeah.
Mass Effect, Dragon Age, where
Yeah.
like what you say, what you do, it affects like who your character becomes.
Right. It shapes their personality.
Totally.
Now, role playing is still huge in 5e, but it's also it's more like you're creating the story together, you know.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's like an improv comedy, true.
Oh, yeah.
You know, everyone building a scene together and bouncing ideas off each other.
Like whose line is it anyway?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool.
And that's one of the things that makes 5e so great, you know,
Yeah.
for so many different players.
Mhm.
It's a game where everyone gets to, you know, to be in the spotlight,
Yeah.
to use their imagination, to contribute to the story.
So it's like the difference between playing like solitaire by yourself
Yeah.
and then having like a D&D night, right?
Yeah.
Where everyone brings their own personality, their own ideas.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't know, like reading a book by yourself versus watching a movie with friends.
Yeah, that shared experiments, you know,
Total.
that feeling of being together. That's what makes D&D so special.
Yeah.
No matter what edition you're playing.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Tone, DM style, gameplay, role-playing. It's like we did a speed run through like RPG history.
Right.
But now we got to address the elephant in the room, right? The question that's been like hanging over this whole discussion. The question that starts like all those debates
Oh, yeah.
and friendly rivalries.
Yeah.
Which edition is better?
The age-old question.
Right.
The AD&D versus 5e.
Is it the gritty realism, the complex rules of AD&D,
Oh.
or the streamlined storytelling of 5e?
Right. Who wins?
Who sits on the iron throne of tabletop RPGs? I mean, come on, you got to give us an answer. Which one is it? AD&D, 5e?
You know, I'd love to give you a definitive answer, but I think I'm going to have to disappoint you.
Oh, come on, you can't leave us hanging. Come on, give us the answer.
There isn't one. Like it's like asking what's the best ice cream.
Okay.
You know, what one person loves another person hates, it's all personal preference.
Yeah, I get it. It's subjective.
Yeah.
But there's got to be like some objective way to compare them, right?
Sure, we can look at the mechanics, the tone, how accessible they are, all those things we talk about.
Mm.
But in the end, the best edition is the one that you enjoy the most.
Okay.
The one that just clicks with you. You know?
Yeah.
The one that makes you excited to play, to tell stories.
So it's like choosing your favorite superhero.
Yeah.
Like you a Batman fan, dark, brooding, all those gadgets, or are you more of a Spider-Man person? Optimistic, swinging around, quipping.
Right. Both iconic,
Yeah.
but different.
And there's room for both.
Exactly. And just like, you know, comics has room for both Batman and Spider-Man,
Yeah.
tabletop gaming has room for both AD&D and 5e.
So you're saying no need for this big rivalry, right?
No.
Old school versus new school.
No.
No need to like argue about which one's better.
It's not about picking sides, you know. It's about celebrating how this hobby has changed, how many different ways there are to play.
It's like realizing that you can like Star Wars and Star Trek.
Exactly.
You don't have to choose one or the other.
It's about embracing all of it, you know, all the different kinds of games out there. It's about, you know, respecting AD&D where it all started.
Yeah.
But also seeing how 5e has, you know, made things new, made it easier to get into.
So no gatekeeping.
No.
No judging other players.
Right.
Because they like a different edition.
We can all just enjoy D&D.
Yeah.
Whether we love Tessie or advantage rolls,
Yeah.
fancy and magic, or spell slots.
It's all good.
It's all good. It's about having a community where everyone feels welcome, you know, whether you've been playing since the beginning,
Yeah.
like you had the original like white box,
Oh, yeah.
or you're brand new, you know, and you discovered it because of like Critical Role or something.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
That's a really cool way to think about it. Like, it's not about the loot you get.
Right.
Or the magic items. It's about the connections you make.
Yeah.
The stories you tell with your friends.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a good place to stop for now.
Okay.
But we'll be back. Don't worry. Part 3, we'll talk more about the D&D community, you know,
Yeah.
how these different editions like affected pop culture.
Oh, cool.
And just how awesome this game is and how it's still going strong.
Awesome.
Until then, keep rolling those dice. You know,
Yeah.
keep those imaginations going.
Okay, everyone, hold on to your character sheets. This deep dive is about to go to the next level. All right, so we're back in our D&D time machine. We've explored the the depths of AD&D. We've seen the streamlined world of 5e, and we've even asked like the big question: which one is better, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like saying, Kirk versus Picard.
Right.
It's all a matter of taste.
Yeah, and you know what's really cool is that like even with all those differences, both editions, they have this core of like pure imagination, right? Like that feeling of escaping into another world. It's like comparing, I don't know, Breath of the Wild
Yeah.
to like those old fighting fantasy game
Oh,
books.
yeah, yeah.
Like totally different ways to experience another world.
Okay, now I'm getting like flashbacks to my childhood. Like AD&D with all those rule books and character sheets.
Yeah.
It was like a building with Legos, right? Like a giant Lego set where every piece has its place.
Yeah.
And you end up with this like super detailed castle or spaceship or whatever.
Yeah. And if you're the kind of person who loves like tinkering, like optimizing everything, AD&D was like perfect, right?
Yeah, all
All those
done.
systems, like it was like mastering, I don't know, like crafting in Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
You're experimenting with different materials,
Yeah,
trying to make the best tools.
totally.
And it felt good, right? Like
Yeah.
you figured out the rules, you're using them to your advantage.
Totally. But then you got 5e, right? And 5e is all about streamlining, letting the story just like happen.
Right, it's like picking up a video game and it just flows. You got easy controls, you got a story that grabs you right away. I don't know, have you played like Tisco Elysium
Oh, yeah.
or The Outer Worlds?
Yeah.
Where it's all about talking to people, exploring.
Yeah.
And the world is just like super interesting.
Yeah, so for players who are all about the story,
Yeah.
developing their characters, like 5e, the rules, they're just the framework, right?
Yeah, they're like the bare bones.
And you build on that. It's like, like a bunch of friends sitting around a campfire telling stories, right?
Yeah.
And each person adds their own bit, and it just grows.
Yeah, it's a living story. It's happening right there.
Okay, I love that, and that human element, right?
Yeah.
The players, the DM, like working together.
That's what makes tabletop RPGs so special.
Right.
It's not just like rolling dice, following rules. It's about connecting with people.
Yeah.
Creating something together. It's like those movies where it's like an ensemble tad,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like The Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah.
Or Ocean's 11. It's
Yeah.
all about the characters, how they interact.
Totally.
Not just like the plot.
And those stories, right? They could be anything you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like you could be exploring like ancient tombs like Lara Croft.
Yeah.
You could be like fighting monsters like Geralt.
Uh-huh.
You could be solving mysteries like the crew of the Serenity.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could be like negotiating treaties between like warring kingdoms, like in Game of Thrones.
Exactly. And it's not just fantasy, right? Like D&D, it can be about real world stuff too.
Okay.
Like, social justice, the environment, like how people relate to each other. It's like using a game to explore what it means to be human.
Like those movies that make you think,
Yeah, yeah. Like Parasite
Oh yeah.
or Moonlight.
Yeah, yeah.
They deal with like serious stuff, but they're also like really well made.
Totally. And that's why D&D is still so popular, right? Like it grows with you.
Yeah.
You can start with like simple adventures like Scooby-Doo,
Yeah.
solving a mystery in a spooky house.
Right.
And then
yeah.
as you play more, you add more stuff.
Exactly. And you're not just like leveling up your character, you're getting better at telling stories,
Mhm.
solving problems.
Yeah.
You're learning how to like understand other people better. It's like a master class in creativity,
Yeah, yeah.
And you're learning from everyone who's ever played D&D.
Okay, speaking of everyone, let's talk about like the D&D community.
Yeah.
How AD&D and 5e, they both created these amazing groups of players, artists, writers. It's like going from the early days of comic books, right, where it was just small groups at conventions
Yeah.
to now, right, where it's like this giant global community thanks to the internet.
It's amazing. Like these games, they created this whole culture,
Yeah.
And it's so diverse. Back in the AD&D days, it was more local, right? Like people met in game stores,
Mhm.
basements,
Yeah.
conventions. Like it was like, I don't know, like the early days of punk rock.
Oh yeah,
Small groups, but they were super passionate about it.
totally. But then the internet happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
5e exploded. And now it's like everyone's playing D&D. It's global.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? It's like it brings everyone together from all over the world,
Yeah.
and they all speak the same language. They understand each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's so cool about D&D, right? It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. It brings people together. It's like
Yeah,
this shared language of imagination.
exactly.
So I think as we wrap this up, it's safe to say that D&D, it's not just a game.
Yeah.
It's it's like this cultural thing. It shows how powerful our imagination can be. It's about like our need for adventure, for connection.
It's a legacy. It
Uh-huh.
comes back decades. Like from Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson,
Yeah.
making up rules in their basement,
Oh,
to now
yeah.
millions of people playing all over the world.
And whether you're a veteran, right?
Yeah.
You've been rolling those percentile dice forever,
Yeah.
or you're just starting out, you're
Mhm.
figuring out your character sheet.
Yeah.
There's a place for you in D&D.
Yeah, absolutely. So grab your dice,
Yeah.
get your friends together,
Yeah.
and go have some adventures.
The worlds of D&D are waiting for you. The stories are out there. Go make some memories. And remember, the most important rule.
Have fun.
Exactly. Until next time, adventurers.